Hey guys, Happy New Year and welcome back to my channel. Or if you're new here, then hello and welcome. My name is Kara and I thought, it's January 1st. What better time to share my 2023 goals than today? So that is what I'm going to be doing. Now, some of these goals are like big goals, and what I like to do with big goals is break them down into smaller, more achievable goals. However, I think for today's purpose, if I start doing that, it's just going to become a big jumbled mess. There's going to be way too many little goals culminating in these big ones that I think I'd rather just tackle them on a month by month basis. So let's get into the big goals. Now, I will preface this by saying you're not going to see goals for me in terms of numbers on a scale or clothing size, anything like that. I have spent a lot of my life making goals like that, and it's never been particularly productive for me. It didn't stop me from making those goals repeatedly throughout, but I have changed my mindset on that over the last couple of years, and I'm no longer motivated by the number on the scale. I am motivated more so in terms of what I can achieve, and that's going to be reflected in my goals for this year. So, the very big very scary goal that I have set for myself is to complete a half Ironman. And the one that I am looking at specifically is midway through September of this year. So that gives me 9 and a little bit months to prepare myself mentally and physically in order to accomplish that. So, what that means, a half Ironman is a 2 kilometer swim, a 90 kilometer bike, and a 21 kilometer run or a half marathon. So, obviously, there's going to be a lot of little goals leading up to that because as I sit here filming today, I have never swam 2 kilometers. I have never biked 90K, and I've certainly never run 21K. I've never run more than 5K consecutively. So you can see there's going to be a lot of little goals in that. But I think the path to achieving all of those goals, culminating in the big one, is consistency. So that is another primary goal of myself, is to be consistent in my training. I don't have to be perfect, but I have to be progressing. And I can't progress if I'm not consistent in my training. So what that means for me is at least one swim session a week, at least for now. These goals will likely be tweaked and changed as race season approaches and as I'm gearing up for particular events. But as of today, it's a matter of getting into that pool once a week, if only to establish the habit and get my body back and used to that. For the bike, I want to be on my indoor trainer at least 2 times a week. And likewise for the run, I want to be putting in 2 sessions on the treadmill a week as well. I'm not opposed to running outside in the winter. I do have the gear for it, but it is so much more convenient just to come down to my basement and not have to put on 17 layers. So treadmill it is. If I feel like running outside, I will run outside, but the point is 2 sessions a week. Now, to assist with this goal setting, I have a few other external motivators going on. So in the past, I have done something called the Conqueror Challenge. And so I have signed up for those again this year. So the Conqueror Challenge is basically a distance-based challenge. They have a number of different routes that you can choose from. It's all online and it basically tracks your progress. So you input how far you've gone, and every so often you will receive a virtual postcard that has some information about the place that you are virtually running through or biking or walking or whatever the case may be. It doesn't have to be a specific sport. So I've done these in the past, and the medals that you get from them are very high quality, and I really like the motivating factor of getting to see the completion mapped out on the route, and getting those virtual postcards is actually just very interesting. You learn a lot about an area of the world that you might not have known about before. So for myself, for this year, I have signed up for 3 different challenges representing each leg of the triathlon. So for the swim component, I have signed up for the English Channel Challenge, and what that is a 33 kilometer challenge. I've set my completion goal to September 10th, so a week before the 70.3 that I want to complete. So I have 36 weeks to swim 33 kilometers. Now, it's entirely possible that I'll finish that well before the 36 weeks, but I wanted to represent the training period that I have. So 36 weeks to swim 33 kilometers. For the run, I've signed up for the Yosemite Park Challenge, and that is a 70-kilometer distance. And again, I've set my completion deadline for September 10th on that one. Now, for the cycling part, I have decided to sign up for the 2023 medal. And so there's no predetermined distance on that. I get to set my own distance, and again, I get to set my completion deadline goal. For this one, I have given myself the full year, so full 12 months to complete 5,000 kilometers. That is the distance that I have set for myself. I honestly am not versed enough or experienced enough in cycling to even know if that's within the realm of reality for me, but that's kind of the nature of a challenge. If I break it down, that's a little over 400 kilometers a month. So I don't know that it's going to be 400 kilometers every month. I can envision for January it's going to be a lower number than that, but gearing up towards race season, it's going to be a lot because again, I have to be able to do 90 kilometers in one sitting. So I think we're going to see a slow burn towards this, and then it's going to really bloom in the summer and then maybe taper off again in the fall. But regardless, it's going to be interesting to see how it all shakes out. And my plan on this channel is to do monthly updates to let you know how much of those distances I've accomplished each month and maybe do some tweaking and refinement in terms of what my consistency goals are. Now, on top of those goals, I have another really big cycling goal. So, if you're not familiar, Zwift is sort of an online community, if you will. It's a cycling community. You pay a monthly membership and it unlocks a whole crap ton of stuff. So there are pre-set out maps that you can join as a free ride, and as you're going through it, it basically adjusts the tension on your bike through the turbo trainer to reflect any sort of inclines that you might be doing. And there's also predetermined workouts. There are professional athletes on there who have their own workouts that you can follow along with. And there's a lot of camaraderie as well. So I'm also part of a cycling group through Zwift, and we have there's a Discord and a Facebook group. There's also a chat feature right through, so we can do group rides and chat with each other. My kids just got home from their grandparents' house, so I'm going to pause here and I will be back. Hopefully I can pick up my train of thought. And of course I've forgotten what I was talking about, but I'm pretty sure I was talking about Zwift. And what's really cool about it is you don't have to think about it. You can just set it up and then it controls the turbo trainer, which basically controls the bike, so that if you are doing an incline, it'll replicate that by making it more difficult to pedal. And so I get to practice my climbing because that is the part of cycling, aside from the whole, there are cars on the road that terrify me, and going around corners and, just general bike riding handling abilities. But the climbing is what really intimidates me. And so I want to get better at it, and I want to become confident in my ability to go uphill on a bike, because to date, I have only ever picked routes where I know that they are flat. So even when I'm looking at races and events coming up, I am reading about the bike course in specific to make sure that it's not too hilly. And I don't want that to be a concern. I want to be able to just sign up for any event and know and feel confident in myself that if there are hills on the bike route, that I'm going to be able to handle them. So I've set another huge goal for myself, which honestly, I'm not sure that I can accomplish within 1 year, but I won't know if I don't try. And so the goal for myself is to unlock the Tron bike on Zwift. And I'll break that down for you because 3 months ago, I would have had no idea what that means either. So in Zwift, there are a number of different incentives along the way. So you can level up and you can unlock different things like different bike components, different kit, all of that kind of thing. It's kind of the equivalent of earning gold stars in school, and it is highly motivating. One of the hardest things to unlock, though, is the Tron bike. They call it the Concept 1 bike or something, probably because they don't actually have the license to call it the Tron bike, but everybody calls it the Tron bike. So that's what I'm going to refer to it as. And I mean, aside from it just looking really badass, it's just basically a status symbol to show that you have worked your butt off in order to earn this bike. And in order to unlock it, you have to climb a total of 50,000 meters. That is huge. So when a goal is that big, 50,000 meters of climbing, I need it broken down into smaller bits. So I do have a smaller subset goal in there, and that is to complete the Everest Challenge through Zwift. It's still a big goal in and of itself. Completing it requires climbing 8,850 meters, but that seems like a much more manageable number than 50,000. So that is what I'm focused on right now. I am going to carry my progress from 2022 into 2023 towards this, if only because I don't know how to reset it. And honestly, I haven't climbed that much to make it a huge difference. So from when I joined Zwift to today, I have climbed a total of 2,479 meters so far. So I've got like 6,000 and some change to complete the Everest Challenge, and then a whole lot more after that to get the Tron bike. But it is the big carrot at the end of the stick, and every ride I do is just going to get me that much closer to it. So again, I will update you guys as it progresses, but those are the huge goals that I've set for myself. Now, I do have some other goals that are big, and some of them are a little bit more nebulous. I'm not entirely sure how to achieve them, but we're going to work on it anyways. So let me break it down for you. Basically the only time-specific goal that I have for myself is to complete a sprint distance triathlon in 1 hour, 45 minutes or less. That would represent basically a 30-minute faster time than what I posted in August of this year. I'm not super competitive in that I don't enter races with the idea that I'm going to win. Maybe begs the question as to why I enter races to begin with, but really the only person I'm competing against is myself. So I can't control what somebody else's training schedule looks like. I can't control how athletic somebody else is or what their fitness level is. The only person I can control is myself. And so comparing myself to somebody else's achievements, at least at this point, I'm not a pro athlete, right? Like that's going to demotivate me because I know, especially at this point, I can't beat anybody else in the field. But I can do better than I did the last time. And I have control over that. So the more training that I do, the better my nutrition is, focusing on sleep and recovery. The more of those elements that I bring into my life, the better my performance is going to be. So in August of 2022, I completed a sprint distance triathlon in 2 hours and 12 minutes. So just for some context, a sprint distance is a 750 meter swim, a 20 kilometer bike ride, and a 5K run. Now, I think shaving that down to 1 hour and 45 minutes is completely doable. It's just going to be a matter of training. But when I look at like the breakdown of every element of that triathlon that I did in August, I can see where the room for improvement really lies. So for the swim leg of that triathlon, I took 19 minutes and 34 seconds to complete it. I did spend a solid 2 to 3 minutes just purely panicking during that swim. And that is another one of those goals, like the more nebulous goal that I'm not entirely sure how to fix, is conquering my fear of open water swimming, because I was shocked that I panicked like that, and I did it twice last summer. And so now it's become a little bit of this deep-seated fear, although I will say I did swim through the panic in August, and so that has given me a bit of a boost of confidence. So my only plan to address it really is to just get into the open water as much as I can during spring and summer of this year. Can't do it right now, and swimming in a pool does not replicate it for me. It is the actual, like, just swimming out into a lake and swimming well beyond where I would normally stop if I was just there for like a leisure swim. So I've got the wetsuit, I've got a lake nearby. Like, we live about a 7-minute drive from the lake in my city. So all I can do is just get out into the open water. And it's basically immersion therapy. I just have to do it safely, but I have to do it. So that's my plan to address that one. But getting back to the sprint triathlon, my transition times, I can definitely shave some time off of there. So transition 1 last year, I spent 5.5 minutes in transition, just faffing about, doing nothing important. I changed my shoes, I took my wetsuit off, I had a snack, I took a drink, I could tighten that up by a few minutes very easily. The bike ride, I took 55 minutes and 58 seconds to complete a 20K bike last summer. I have since switched my cycling shoes, so I now have like clipless pedals and actual cycling shoes rather than relying just on trainers. And even that, when I hop on for Zwift, my time for doing a 20K ride is now down by about 15 to 20 minutes right there, just from changing the shoes. I haven't changed anything else. So I think that with additional training and whatnot, I can definitely shave some more time off of that. And that's going to be a huge time saving overall. And then the run, there is so much room for improvement here. So in August, I spent 47 minutes and 42 seconds to do the 5K run. Now, bear in mind, I have a hip injury. It's still undiagnosed. I've had an ultrasound done on it, I've had an x-ray done on it, and it has been completely inconclusive. They do not see any injury in there. So the next step, if it flares up again, is that I'm going to need an MRI to take an even deeper look to see what is happening. So while I was kind of frustrated that they didn't find something wrong with it because my hip was agony last year, it does bring me some level of comfort that it's not an obvious injury and it's not anything that's going to require immediate intervention. Like, it's not arthritis, it's not a stress fracture or anything like that. There's something going on in there, or at least there was. We shall see. As I get back into my running training, I'm really going to be focusing on incorporating my physiotherapy. I'm also really going to focus on my technique. And so my plan right now is to just go slow and steady, really get those fundamentals down, really get my positioning while running down so that I don't re-aggravate the hip. Because I think that I can shave some serious time off of that 47-minute mark. I did a 5K run in 2020 and I came in, I think it was about 38 minutes. Still not a fast pace by any stretch, but there's like a 9-minute savings right there. Pair that with the 20-minute savings on the bike. I think that I can do an hour and 45 minutes. I think it's going to be a challenge, but I think that I can run a sprint distance triathlon in sub 145, or at least I'm going to give it the college try and do my absolute best to do so. And then finally, I just have this like broad overarching theme for the year of just not letting fear get in my way. And that kind of plays into the whole open water fear as well. But I tend to sometimes use my anxiety as a crutch to say no to things where I know it's going to make me nervous. I know it's going to make me uncomfortable, so I just avoid it. But in doing so, I also limit myself. So I want to just push past that. I want to say yes to more in 2023. Obviously not to weird extremes or anything like that, but I just don't want to say, doing a 70.3 or half Ironman distance is going to be really hard and scary, so I'm not going to do it. What if I fail? I'm not even going to try. I want to push past that because I have fallen victim to that many times throughout my life of the whole, well, I don't know if I'm going to succeed, so therefore I'm just not going to try. And I've done that in a variety of aspects of my life. And I don't think that it has served me all that well. And I don't want to continue that. I do want to just recognize the fact that I have anxiety, and that is just generalized anxiety, social anxiety. Like I can get into my own head and create my own barriers very easily, like far too easily. And I want to just recognize it for what it is, acknowledge it, and just ignore it, move past it. And that is far easier said than done. But I think, especially if I'm just focusing on these kind of things, I mean, never in my wildest dreams did I ever think, yeah, let's do a half marathon after riding 90 kilometers and swimming for 2. But here we are. I think it's possible. I just have to train for it. So I'm not going to let my own self-negativity get in my own way. So that's going to spill into a few different categories like work. I want to do a mediation course and become a certified mediator, but the idea of the training and how much role playing is involved in it has always terrified me and has always turned me off of it. And that's just a social anxiety thing. I'm not going to die from having to pretend to be a mediator in a training session. I know that I'm not going to die doing that, and yet it feels like I will, so I avoid the situation entirely. And I've been doing that for years. And I'm done with it. I'm tired of myself getting in my own way. So 2023 is going to be just sticking up the middle finger to anxiety. So there we have it. Those are my big goals for 2023. I would love to hear from you in the comments what some of your goals are for 2023. And if you have a plan in place on how to achieve those goals, let me know that as well. But with all of that said, I am going to wrap the video up here. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch. Thank you for all of your support throughout 2022. I wish you and your families nothing but the best in 2023. And I'm really excited to hear about your goals and see your successes with them and to share mine as well. Bye for now.